Snark Squad. Babes. The martinis. Poured. Extra messy. Just like the ladies.
And babes, we are spiraling today. Buzzing, energized, and fully, completely in our faux summer era.
Honestly, today was a preview of summer. The sunshine, the colors, the energy. Babes, it was a whole vibe, and we are absolutely obsessed.
We are practically radiating UV rays and, like, unearned confidence right now. I mean, I have completely dissociated from reality at this point.
Same. I firmly believe I'm currently lounging on a super yacht off the Amalfi Coast rather than sitting behind this microphone with you.
It is a profound psychological shift. Like, the seasonal depression lifts, and it is immediately replaced by just seasonal delusion.
Oh, 100%. We abandon all our financial goals, our dietary restrictions, and just our general sense of decorum because the sun is out.
Right. It is basically a biological imperative to act out.
Exactly. And the only way to enjoy this level of chaos, a martini. Lemon drop.
Yeah.
Obviously. Wait, cheers to you. Let's get into it.
Cheers. Oh, wow. That is tart.
Right. That is hitting the back of the jaw in the absolute best way possible. It wakes you up.
It is aggressively citrus forward, which is exactly the kind of acidic preparation our palates need for the toxicity we are about to unpack today.
Oh, totally. A sugary drink simply would not provide the correct fortification for the psychological warfare we are about to witness.
No, it wouldn't.
Okay. But we need to be honest with the Snark Squad right now. We are currently snacking on McDonald's chicken nuggets.
We are. It's true.
Babes, they are divine, we know. We're supposed to be manifesting bougie energy with the martinis. But the nuggets, we're calling.
They practically yelled our names from the drive-thru speaker. And honestly, there is a fascinating juxtaposition here.
Oh, here we go with the analysis.
No, seriously. We're consuming high society transatlantic television while eating mass-produced fast food. It keeps us grounded.
I guess that makes sense.
It keeps us tethered to the reality of the working class while we critique the absurd wealth of the London elite.
I am having a fully emotional reaction to these nuggets right now. Like, I am near tears.
Tears. Over poultry.
Yes. There is something profoundly spiritual about a fresh, perfectly crispy, scalding hot chicken nugget when you have even a slight buzz going.
I mean, the grease is undeniably effective.
The grease, the crunch, the way the sweet and sour sauce just aggressively clings to the breading. It is healing my inner child and my current adult anxiety all at once.
Look, as someone who usually approaches fast food with the analytical rigor of a Michelin-star food critic, I have to validate your emotional experience with hard data.
Thank you. I feel so deeply seen by this nugget right now.
The golden ratio of a McDonald's nugget is unparalleled in modern culinary engineering. We are talking about an optimal breading-to-meat ratio of roughly 40 to 60.
Wait, 40 to 60? Really?
Yes. And the structural integrity of the boot-shaped nugget specifically.
Yeah.
Flawless. It provides maximum surface area for sauce adhesion.
Oh my God, you are literally analyzing a chicken nugget like it's a science experiment.
It is science. It maintains a firm grip, preventing catastrophic sauce droppage onto your outfit. And let's not ignore the ambient temperature.
Served at exactly the point where it threatens to give you third-degree burns.
Exactly. But it rewards you with absolute umami. It is a masterpiece of consistency.
This is why we are besties. I cry over the chicken nugget, and you give me the geometric proof of why my tears are valid.
That's what I'm here for.
But babes, this exact clash, snacking on McDonald's while sipping a bougie lemon drop martini, is the exact clash of high-class delusion and messy reality that we are exploring today with the ladies in London.
A seamless transition. I love it.
Thank you. But before we cross the pond, the group chats going off.
Since the Taylor-Frankie situation.
Babes, the blogs have been on fire.
Absolute fire.
And babes, let's be clear here. If the allegations against Taylor are true, fuck her. We don't support abusers, period.
Absolutely not. There is zero tolerance for that kind of behavior.
End of sentence.
The reality television ecosystem thrives on petty drama, miscommunications, and bruised egos. That is the social contract we sign as viewers.
Exactly.
We do not play with actual, real-life darkness, manipulation, or abuse. We are here for the camp, not the criminality.
We draw a hard line. But stepping away from that actual darkness and into the absolute chaotic light of standard reality TV mess.
Yes, please.
Now with the summer house drama, we are living in the best timeline. My phone has been literally vibrating off the table since this morning.
I know. I've had to plug mine in 3 times today.
It is nonstop updates, blind items, screenshots of deleted comments, people liking things and then unliking them 3 seconds later.
The speed at which information travels in the bravosphere is genuinely terrifying. It operates faster than traditional news cycles.
I can barely keep up, but I am absolutely living for the mess. I am inhaling it like oxygen.
I had to create a literal spreadsheet this morning just to track the timeline of who unfollowed whom at what exact timestamp.
A spreadsheet? You didn't.
I did, and cross-reference that with who was spotted in whose Instagram story background. It is an ecosystem of pure, unadulterated chaos.
You are unhinged. But
Thank
also
you.
send me that spreadsheet immediately.
It requires the dedication of an investigative journalist to keep up.
It's exhausting, but we do it for the love of the game. Okay, speaking of chaos, we need to discuss something that has been haunting my algorithm all week.
Ooh, let me guess.
Podcasters going on tour? Like, babes, what are they doing on stage?
I have been analyzing this phenomenon, and I am fundamentally baffled by the logistics and the psychology of it all.
Are they just talking, spiraling live? Do we need to go on tour? Because every time I scroll, there is another podcast duo sitting on stools in a theater in Minneapolis.
Are people paying premium ticket prices plus Ticketmaster fees, let's not forget, to watch two people sit behind microphones and drink beverages in real time?
I guess so. Is there choreography? Do we need to learn an 8 count? What is the visual component that justifies leaving your house?
There rarely is one.
If we go on tour, and let's be clear, this is a fully unserious delusion right now. We are not booking venues, but if we did, we are not just sitting there.
Oh, a Snark side tour would be absolute pandemonium.
I'm picturing us physically throwing chicken nuggets into the front row like confetti. It would be a Gallagher-style splash zone, but with sweet and sour sauce.
A literal nugget cannon. T-shirt cannons are antiquated. Nugget cannons are the future of live entertainment.
Oh my God, yes!
We could have a live, interactive martini-making station where the audience votes on the toxicity of the ingredients based on whatever franchise we were discussing.
The sociological experiment of having a live audience dictate our alcohol consumption is fascinating.
Right. If we're talking a really dark season, the martini is just pure grain alcohol and red food coloring.
Yes. If we're talking about a boring filler episode, it's a single drop of vodka in artisanally sourced cucumber water.
And we'd absolutely need chaotic audience involvement.
Like bringing someone on stage to dramatically read a Notes app apology from a Bravo celebrity while we pelt them with soft cheese.
I love that you specified soft cheese. A brie or a camembert.
Only the best for our audience.
The liability insurance for a Snarkside tour would bankrupt us immediately. But the vision is undeniably clear. We are fundamentally redefining the parasocial relationship.
The vision is flawless. But as much as I want to live in our tour delusion and plan out our rider, which would just be 50 boxes of nuggets, we have actual pressing business to attend to.
We do. We need to cross the pond.
We need to talk about the absolute unhinged chaos of Ladies of London, Season 4, Episode 6.
A masterpiece of tension.
Babes, strap in, secure your personal belongings, keep your hands and feet inside the ride at all times. The British shade deployed in this episode is lethal. It is a biological weapon.
It truly is the calm before the faux summer storm. This episode operates as a masterclass in narrative tension.
It really does.
We're looking at the underlying resentments, the health scares that shift group dynamics, and the marital red flags that set the stage for one of the most bizarre social clashes in recent reality television history.
Okay, let's start at the beginning with Maipeka. She officially launches her Mini Manners Kids show on YouTube.
Which was certainly a choice.
And I have to say, the production value, kind of iconic. It was very high definition. But the puppets, babes, the puppets were throwing absolute shade.
They really were.
There's a moment where a puppet literally looks at the camera and says, "I don't like you either." Are we teaching etiquette, or are we teaching Real Housewives taglines to preschoolers?
It is a brilliant, albeit terrifying, subliminal messaging strategy. Let's unpack the psychology of what Mike is doing here.
Please do.
Etiquette, historically, has always been a weapon of the upper class.
Yeah.
It is a way to gatekeep society and signal to outsiders that they do not belong because they used the wrong fork or spoke out of turn.
Right. Totally.
Micah isn't just teaching children how to hold a teacup. She is teaching them the art of passive aggression. She's raising the next generation of reality TV villains under the guise of civility.
Yes. She is arming these toddlers for social warfare. The juxtaposition of the puppet saying, "Friends, do you ever forget to use kind words?" with a flash forward to the women absolutely tearing each other apart at a picnic later in the episode is cinematic genius.
The editors deserve a raise, an Emmy, and a paid vacation for that transition alone.
They really do. It highlights the absolute hypocrisy of high society. We pretend we care about manners, but we really just want to draw blood politely.
Precisely. And speaking of drawing blood politely, we then follow Micah as she goes to visit Emma.
Oh, Emma.
Emma is prepping to run a 10K marathon in Nairobi, Kenya for the Tusk charity. Now, Micah brings her this incredibly thoughtful Africa Safari care package with little creams, sunscreens, and practical items for the trip.
Which, first of all, running a 10K in the Kenya heat, Emma is a different breed. I complain if I have to walk up a flight of stairs when it's above 70 degrees.
I mean, yeah.
But Micah's gift was so incredibly thoughtful. However, before we even get into the emotion of that scene, we have to talk about Emma's house.
We absolutely must address the visual reality of English architecture happening in Emma's living room during this visit.
I was so confused.
As the camera pans, you notice there are literal vines growing inside her house. Fully formed, leafy green vines creeping through the window frames and establishing residency on the interior walls.
Wait, I saw that. I had to pause the screen. I thought her house was just like aggressively crumbling into the earth.
You thought it was structural damage.
Yes, I thought it was a structural collapse. I thought she was living in a haunted ruin.
No, this is where we have to dive into the sheer sociological absurdity of the United Kingdom during the summer months. Here is the reality.
Okay, educate me.
Nobody in the UK has centralized air conditioning. Their entire infrastructure is built to retain heat because it is cold and damp for 10 months out of the year.
Right.
So when the 2 weeks of summer arrive, the entire country just decides to sweat it out. To combat the heat, they open every single window in the house.
Okay, that makes sense.
But here's the critical, mind-blowing kicker. Nobody in the UK uses window screens.
Wait, what do you mean they don't use screens? Like, at all?
It is a completely foreign concept to them. A screen is an Americanism.
You are joking.
I am not. So you have these massive, historic, multi-million-pound homes with gorgeous wisteria and ivy growing all over the exterior brickwork.
Yeah, which looks beautiful on the outside.
And because the windows are thrown wide open all summer to catch a breeze, the vines just naturally grow straight into the house. It's not crumbling infrastructure, it's just a British summer.
That is so wild.
You are trying to sit on your sofa and drink a cup of tea, and a literal ecosystem is invading your parlor. The outside simply becomes the inside.
That is so wildly unhinged. I would completely lose my mind. One mosquito flies into my apartment, and I am calling the landlord, buying citronella candles, and writing a furious Yelp review of my own life.
The lack of screens is a massive cultural divide.
I cannot imagine just casually sipping tea while a vine slowly suffocates my television stand. But back to the human element of this scene, because Emma drops this massive, heavy update about her health.
Right, the cyst.
She had that terrifying cyst on her pituitary gland, and it turns out the original MRI was misread. The cyst hasn't grown at all.
It is incredibly relieving news, but we have to analyze the psychological toll of that initial misdiagnosis.
Oh, it must have been awful.
For months, Emma has been operating under the assumption that there is a growing, potentially life-threatening mass in her brain. That kind of existential dread rewires your entire brain chemistry.
I was fully emotional watching Emma break down. She's sitting there crying on her sofa next to the indoor vines, and you can just feel the crushing weight of it leaving her body.
It was very palpable.
Even though the news was ultimately good, that initial scare completely shifted her entire perspective on her life. It's that terrifying realization of how short and fragile life actually is.
Totally.
When she said, I thought I wasn't going to be here to see my kids grow up, I had to put my chicken nugget down, I was weeping.
It grounds the show in a very stark reality. We spend so much time analyzing petty arguments over seating charts and themed parties, and then suddenly, mortality enters the chat.
It really snaps you back to reality.
And we have to give credit where credit is due. Micah, who can often be perceived as rigid, structured, and emotionally guarded, was so genuinely comforting in this scene.
She really was. And not only the care package, but Micah also organized that incredibly sweet cameo video of all the ladies cheering Emma on for her marathon.
A very strategic but kind gesture.
It was such a beautiful, supportive gesture. It made me cry again. Micah is unexpectedly giving top-tier, thoughtful gift-giver energy this season.
She is actually showing emotional intelligence, which is so rare in these ensembles.
So rare. Usually they're just screaming at each other.
Exactly. It is a massive redemption arc for Micah's emotional portfolio. However, while Micah is ascending in the empathy rankings and proving herself to be a foundational friend, we have to transition.
Oh, no.
We have a transition to the absolute opposite end of the spectrum. We need to unpack Lottie and Joshua because the marital red flags are officially waving at hurricane force.
Oh, my God. Joshua, my blood pressure spikes just hearing his name right now.
The behavior was truly a marvel.
Okay, so Lottie and Joshua go to the doctor to get a 3D ultrasound. They finally get to see the baby's face, which is beautiful and should be this incredibly intimate bonding moment for a married couple.
You'd think.
But Joshua, babes, he is entirely consumed by his upcoming fashion show.
The level of narcissism on display was truly a marvel of modern television.
He's sitting in the ultrasound room staring at the monitor showing his unborn child, and he is talking about how he is personally responsible for every single outfit, every stitch of clothing for his upcoming collection.
While his wife is literally being scanned.
And Lottie is visibly deflated. She is sitting there, vulnerable, literally growing a human being inside of her, and she is talking about how deeply lonely she is feeling during this pregnancy.
Let's analyze Joshua's behavior here because there is a very intense debate to be had.
What debate? He's awful.
Well, is he falling victim to a classic reality TV bad husband edit? We know editors can splice conversations, linger on silent reactions, and construct a narrative of neglect.
I mean, maybe.
Or does Joshua genuinely emit this desperate, I just want to be the center of attention on television frequency? Because right now, based on the raw footage we are seeing, he is prioritizing fabric swatches over fetal development.
I am going to aggressively push back on the edit theory. I am getting fully emotional defending Lottie here.
Go for it.
You cannot edit a man to say the words, "I am responsible for every outfit," while his pregnant wife is looking him in the eye and telling him she feels abandoned.
Fair point. He did say the words.
The editors didn't put those words in his mouth. Joshua needs to step up. A baby is infinitely more important than a fashion show.
Well, to him, maybe not.
I don't care if you're the next Alexander McQueen. Your wife is literally growing a human spine, organs, and a nervous system in her body, and you are worried about whether the hemlines are asymmetrical.
The tension in that ultrasound room felt like a ticking time bomb. Lottie has this very quiet, very English restraint.
She doesn't yell, she doesn't scream, but you can see the absolute fury and sadness building behind her eyes.
You were absolutely right about the restraint. It's the stiff upper lip collapsing in real time. The disparity in their priorities is staggering.
It's so sad to watch.
He is attempting to craft a runway narrative, and she is simply asking for basic domestic partnership. It is a classic archetype of the creative genius who demands that everyone in his orbit serve as a supporting character to his vision.
Ugh, I hate that archetype.
He views Lottie's pregnancy not as a shared life event, but as an inconvenience that is pulling focus from his collection. It is a recipe for a catastrophic, on-camera meltdown down the line. The resentment is calcifying.
It's so dark. Every time he speaks, I want to reach through the screen and shake him. But, okay, we need to pivot from the crushing reality of marital neglect to the absolute fever dream that was the park scene.
Yes. The boobs and the boys.
I am still actively recovering from this scene visually, psychologically, and sociologically.
There's a lot to process.
So Margo is at the local park with her 2 teenage stepsons, Jackson and his brother. They're feeding ducks. Which, side note, what teenagers want to go to the park and throw bread at ducks with their stepmom on camera?
It is a very specific, produced activity.
But whatever, it's wholesome, it's cute, it's very domestic. And then Missy shows up. Babes. Missy arrives to meet these middle school boys with her bosom fully out, shaking in the crisp London wind.
The structural engineering of that top was defying gravity, physics, and common decency all at the exact same time. It was an architectural marvel, but highly misplaced.
I was spiraling, my jaw hit the floor. The sheer lack of social awareness to wear that specific, incredibly revealing garment to meet your friend's teenage stepsons.
And the boys were completely enamored. One of them was practically hypnotized. He couldn't form a sentence.
Margo is standing there, clearly uncomfortable, and Missy's defense of her outfit later on in her confessional is just, I don't even know what to do with it.
Well, it's a fascinating defense.
She claims that when boys stare at her chest, she says, "Hey, you see my eyes?" And then she confidently asserts, "I trained them. Eyes up where they belong."
We have to unpack that defense because it touches on some major sociocultural debates. Is Missy displaying an iconic level of bodily autonomy and confidence, or is her behavior totally cringe and deeply inappropriate?
I vote cringe.
Because on one hand, feminist theory argues that women should never have to police their bodies or alter their wardrobes to accommodate the male gaze. The responsibility should be on the viewer, not to objectify.
Sure, in theory.
On the other hand, sociology dictates that context clues are vital to social cohesion. You are meeting adolescent boys at a duck pond on a Tuesday afternoon. This is not a red carpet in Cannes. This is not a nightclub in Ibiza. It is a municipal park.
It is totally cringe. I'm sorry, I am all for women wearing whatever makes them feel powerful, but read the room, or read the park.
Exactly.
You're wearing a top that requires industrial-strength double-sided tape and a prayer to a play date. And she's acting like she's running a boot camp for male gaze redirection. I trained them.
A very ambitious training program.
No, you didn't train them, you traumatized them. Just wear a t-shirt, a cashmere sweater. Anything that doesn't look like you're about to walk a Victoria's Secret runway in front of minors.
It certainly provided a highly bizarre, visually distracting backdrop for the actual narrative plot point of that scene, which is Missy delivering the ultimate game of high society telephone.
Right, the real gossip.
She uses this duck pond rendezvous to inform Margo that she and Kimmy met for lunch and have officially made up.
Which, wait, pause. Missy and Kimmy making up off camera. Highly suspicious. If it isn't on camera, it didn't happen as far as I'm concerned.
A cardinal rule of reality television.
But the real tea, the actual bomb that gets dropped, is that Missy tells Margo that Mark has been talking behind her back. Specifically, that Mark is telling the rest of the social circle that Margo is putting on her actress hat and being totally fake.
And this is where we officially enter the battle of the bone collectors. This is where the structural integrity of the group begins to fracture.
No, it was a major fracture.
Because Margo does not just get mad. Margo does not take a deep breath and say, I'll handle this later. Margo retaliates with the speed, precision, and devastation of an intercontinental ballistic missile.
I lived for it. I was cheering in my living room. She didn't vague post. She didn't give a shady confessional. She slammed the tea right onto the picnic table in real time.
It was incredibly direct.
She drops the absolute nuke that Mark is nothing but a bag holder for Emma, that he is desperately clutching to her for social relevance because he has no money or status of his own.
And the kicker.
And the absolute kicker, that his own family disowned him. Jaw on the floor.
It was a devastating tactical strike. It was designed for maximum emotional damage. However, as your resident analyst, I must point out the glaring, massive hypocrisy happening here within Margo's psychological framework.
Wait, what hypocrisy? She was just defending herself.
Margo is furious, absolutely incandescent with rage that rumors are being spread about her character. Yet let's look at the historical data of this franchise. How was Margo introduced on this very show?
Wait, you were so right. I completely forgot about the Dora era. That feels like a lifetime ago.
Exactly. She arrived on our screens in Season 1, spreading a vicious, potentially life-ruining rumor that Dara was a madam running an escort service.
Oh my God, I blocked that out.
Margo operates on a very strict policy of rules for thee, but not for me. She weapons rumors when it suits her narrative and secures her screen time, but the moment someone suggests she's putting on an actress hat.
Which is pretty mild, honestly.
Which, let's be analytically honest, is the mildest, most mundane of reality TV insults. She goes absolutely nuclear.
It is a bit of an overreaction.
And furthermore, let's examine this actress' claim to fame that Mark is allegedly mocking. Her acting resume is essentially anchored by a highly publicized, glorified adult film from 2 decades ago. She isn't Meryl Streep.
Stop it. The shade.
The self-righteous indignation over being called an actress is fascinating to observe.
The hypocrisy is thick. You can cut it with a knife. But honestly, as a viewer, I respect the hustle. I respect the sheer speed of the retaliation.
It was efficient.
She didn't say, oh, I'm so hurt, I'll confront him at the finale. She immediately went for the jugular. She unloaded the clip. It is fantastic television.
Undeniably.
But before we get to her actual face-to-face confrontation with Mark, we have to discuss the most absurd, peak Bravo moment of the entire season. The magpie psychic.
This is the moment the show transcended reality television, left the stratosphere, and became a surrealist masterpiece.
I lost my actual mind. I had to rewind it 3 times. So Margo is suspicious of Martha's pet magpie, Hecate.
A magpie.
Which, first of all, being suspicious of a bird's intentions is hilarious. It's a bird. It eats seeds. But Margo brings over an animal communicator, a pet psychic named Jackie, to Martha's grottage.
We must pause to appreciate the term grottage. It is a portmanteau of grotto and cottage that perfectly describes Martha's chaotic, half-finished, damp, renovation-heavy living situation.
It's basically a very chic cave.
It is the architectural embodiment of Martha's current mental state.
Yes. So Jackie the psychic sits down in the grottage, and she claims that Hecate the bird thinks it owns the house. that the bird is the actual boss of the grottage and views Martha as its subordinate.
And Martha's reaction.
And Martha, without missing a single beat, takes a sip of whatever she's drinking and theorizes that the bird might actually be her mother reincarnated because they both love booze, men, and drama. Babes, I was screaming. You cannot script this level of delusion.
It is the highest possible level of camp. We've seen pet psychics on Bravo before. We all vividly remember Shannon Beador bringing a psychic in to talk to Archie, the golden retriever, on The Real Housewives of Orange County.
Iconic.
But this is infinitely funnier because Archie's just a dopey dog who wants a treat. Hickett is a wild magpie that flies around a half-renovated English cottage, hoarding shiny objects and terrorizing guests.
And then Hickett ends up flying over and giving Margo a literal chip to make peace. A peace offering from a reincarnated, drama-loving magpie. I was on the floor.
It is incredibly funny, but we have to look at the underlying psychology here. We have to ask ourselves, is this just a quirky, comedic, filler scene, or is there something much more insidious happening beneath the surface?
Wait, insidious? How?
Because I have to question Margo's motives here. Bringing in a psychic to tell your vulnerable friend that her beloved pet has negative energy and thinks it owns the house.
Oh my God.
Is Margo subtly trying to isolate Martha? Is she trying to alienate Martha even from her emotional support bird so that Martha becomes entirely 100% dependent on Margo for companionship?
Oh my God, wait, that is so dark. That is single white female, but with poultry. You think Margo is gaslighting Martha about the bird to gain dominance in the friendship hierarchy?
I think Margo is a highly strategic operator who requires absolute loyalty and control in her friendships. Martha is currently isolated and vulnerable due to her living situation and her social standing.
Okay, I see your point.
Hickett the magpie was a chaotic variable, a threat to that controlled ecosystem. By delegitimizing the bird's energy, it's a subtle play for psychological power over Martha's environment.
That is fully unhinged, and I completely agree with you. It makes so much sense. Margo wants to be the only voice in Martha's head.
Exactly.
Okay, this all leads us to the climax of the episode, the proper picnic pandemonium. Martha hosts this massive, highly produced, My Fair Lady-themed picnic in the park.
A theme that immediately acts as a sociological sorting hat. It separates the cast into those who understand the assignment and respect the social contract of a themed event, and those who blatantly refuse to participate to assert dominance.
Exactly. Let's talk about the fashions.
Yeah.
Margo arrives looking incredible, honestly. She's in this crisp white dress, a massive feather jacket, and these stark white cowboy boots.
There was a strong look.
She looks ready to stomp on a neck. She is serving high drama. And then Mark completely refuses to comply with the My Fair Lady theme. He shows up in a bright yellow safari jacket.
He looked precisely like the man in the yellow hat from Curious George. Or Colonel Mustard arriving at a clue party set in the tropics.
He looked ridiculous.
It was an aggressive, deliberate sartorial choice designed to communicate his utter disdain for Martha's themed events and his refusal to assimilate into their specific brand of fun. It was a visual protest.
It was so deeply unserious. So Margo goes right up to Mark, wasting absolutely no time, and confronts him about the actor's comment and the fact that he was making fun of her clothes behind her back.
And Mark's response is just brilliant.
And Mark, instead of apologizing or backing down or even getting defensive, hits her with what he literally calls posh put-downs.
This right here is a masterclass in psychological warfare and transatlantic communication differences. Let's deeply dissect Mark's strategy.
Please, I need to understand it.
He is utilizing the mechanism of plausible deniability. He insults people directly to their faces, but he does it with a warm smile, a perfectly modulated, calm tone, and an elevated vocabulary.
It's so frustrating to watch.
He gaslights the victim into thinking it's just cheeky, harmless British banter. When confronted by Margo about mocking her clothes, he doesn't deny it. He reframes it. He literally says there was momentary talk of a crushed velvet jumpsuit.
Momentary talk. I was shrieking. The phrasing is so elitist. And then he tells her she looks like Cruella de Vil, but he says it like he's complimenting her highlights.
Exactly.
He delivers a devastating read with the cadence of someone asking for the time. Margo was completely out of her depth. You could literally see her brain short-circuiting because she couldn't handle the thin-veiled shade.
She lacked the linguistic tools to fight back.
She is used to American reality TV fighting, where someone just screams prostitution whore, flips a table, and throws a glass of wine. She didn't know how to fight a posh put-down. She was glitching.
Precisely. The tragedy is that she had the perfect read holstered and ready, comparing him to the man in the yellow hat, but she was too flustered by his relentless, smiling condescension to actually deploy it to his face.
Such a missed opportunity.
She was completely disarmed by his syntax. British high society weaponizes politeness to establish dominance without ever breaching the rules of decorum. If you react angrily, you look like the unhinged one. Mark won the exchange by maintaining a lower heart rate.
She got totally steamrolled. And we have to talk about this clash of styles because this brings up such an interesting debate. Which is more effective? British shade or real American shade?
That is the ultimate question.
On one hand, you have Mark smiling and calling you Cruella de Vil. It's polite on the surface, but deeply petty underneath. On the other hand, you have Margot's American, straight for the jugular shade. She doesn't smile, she just looks at you and calls you a disowned bag holder. Which do you prefer?
The posh put-down is a high art form. It requires immense intellectual agility and emotional control. American shade is a sledgehammer. British shade is a scalpel.
But the scalpel is so sneaky.
Mark can insult you, dissect your insecurities, and by the time you realize you've actually been insulted, he's already in the next room sipping champagne. It is infinitely more devastating because it leaves the victim looking irrational if they react emotionally. It traps the opponent.
See, I fundamentally disagree. I hate the mental gymnastics. I prefer the American shade. The British shade is too confusing.
You just prefer the volume.
I need to know exactly where I stand with someone. If you think my boots are ugly, tell me my boots are ugly. Don't tell me that at least the birds didn't die in vain to make my jacket. It's too much work for my brain.
It requires parsing, yes.
But regardless, Margo was drowning in this interaction. And then, just when you think Margo might recover and catch her breath, Kimmy enters the fray.
Wearing what can only be described as a micro-millenary tragedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
She has this tiny veil top hat clipped to her head. She looks like a villain from a Charles Dickens novel who is about to foreclose on an orphanage.
She was very specific.
Kimmy storms into the conversation and immediately backs Mark up. She calls Margo fake, tells her she's a fraud from LA, just completely attacking her character out of nowhere.
It was a highly coordinated strike.
Yeah.
Whether planned or instinctual, Mark softens the target with psychological confusion, and Kimmy comes in with the blunt force trauma, the pincer movement, Margo.
And Margo finally snaps back. She finds her footing, but she goes straight for Kimmy's accent. She mocks Kimmy's put-on exaggerated English accent and says she sounds like the Monopoly Man. Babes, the Monopoly Man.
It was a chaotic, spectacular exchange. The debate here is who actually won this interaction.
Yeah.
Did Margo win because she finally threw a tangible, memorable punch with the Monopoly Man red? Or did Kimmy and Mark win because they successfully teamed up to ice her out of the conversation and make her look unhinged and defensive?
I think Mark and Kimmy won the battle in the moment because Margo had to retreat, but Margo won the war for the viewers because the Monopoly Man comment is going to live in my head forever. I will never look at Kimmy and not see the monocle.
It was very descriptive.
But the real casualty of this picnic wasn't Margo. The real casualty was Kimmy's ego. Because after Margo walks away, Kimmy runs to Martha. She is furious that Martha, the host of the picnic, didn't immediately jump in and defend her against Margo.
And this demand for absolute loyalty gives us the most iconic monologue of the season.
Martha looks at Kimmy, totally calm, totally unbothered, and says, because you are a psychotic bitch, I love you for it, but you are. And she firmly tells Kimmy that her behavior towards Margo was completely unacceptable.
It was incredible.
Kimmy's face drops. She starts crying, real tears, claiming she only came to the party for Martha and sees her as a sister.
The psychotic bitch delivery was flawless. Deadpan, completely devoid of malice, just stating a perceived empirical fact. It was a beautiful display of boundary setting.
So good.
But this brings us to a crucial group-dividing debate. Are we Team Kimmy or Team Margo in this dynamic?
I am getting emotional again because as messy and aggressive as Kimmy is, I felt slightly bad for her crying.
You did.
You can see she has these deep abandonment issues that she masks by being incredibly blunt and pushing people away before they can hurt her. When Martha didn't automatically side with her, it validated her worst fear, that she isn't loved, that she is disposable.
I must firmly and vigorously disagree with your emotional assessment. I do not feel an ounce of pity for Kimmy.
You're so cold.
Let's analyze the mechanics of her reaction. Kimmy is highly manipulative. Those tears were not a breakthrough of genuine vulnerability, they were a tactic. She is incredibly jealous and fiercely territorial over Martha.
I mean, she is territorial, but still.
Martha is the breakout star of the social circle right now, and Kimmy wants to gatekeep access to her. Martha holding her boundaries and refusing to coddle Kimmy's bad behavior is the ultimate power move. Kimmy weaponizes her bluntness to bully people, and the second someone holds a mirror up to her and gives her a taste of her own medicine, she plays the ultimate victim.
Okay, I see your point.
Yeah.
The tears might have been weaponized to elicit sympathy, but it just felt so raw.
It was performative.
The way Massey was literally cheering in the background because Kimmy was finally showing human emotion, it was peak dysfunction. And speaking of dysfunction, we need to rank the ladies. We need to do a social climber scorecard.
Excellent. Let's assess the social trajectories.
Who is rising and who is flopping in the hierarchy this week? Let's get messy.
My #1 rising star, unequivocally, is Martha. Her stock is at an all-time high.
Completely agree.
She is effortlessly iconic. Her style, her weird grottage renovations, and the way she refereed that massive fight without breaking a sweat. She literally sat there and said, "I'm trying to referee, and I hate sports."
She is so funny.
She possesses that rare reality TV quality of being deeply weird but universally likable. She is carrying the entire vibe of the show right now on her back.
I completely agree. Martha's soaring. I would also add my Naka to the rising list. For someone who usually operates with the warmth of an Excel spreadsheet, she was the quiet MVP of friendship this week.
She was very reliable.
The care package, the video montage for Emma, she actually displayed genuine emotional intelligence and loyalty.
Yes, Micah is securing her position through silent competence. Now, who is flopping? We have already established Joshua is at the absolute bottom.
The very bottom.
He is currently holding the worst husband on TV edit, and barring a massive personality transplant, I don't see him recovering. But we must discuss Margo's placement on the scorecard. I am officially categorizing Margo as a flop this week.
Wait, what? Why? How is Margo a flop?
Because she attempted to be the mafia boss of the group. She tried to orchestrate a takedown and got utterly steamrolled by Mark's vocabulary.
But she tried.
She showed up to a gunfight with a knife, she was ready for a physical confrontation, and got defeated by semantics. She has incredibly thin skin for someone who loves to throw massive stones.
I mean, true.
A true reality TV tactician drops the bomb and then watches the fallout from a position of strength and amusement. Margo dropped the bomb and then immediately stepped on her own landmine.
I am aggressively pushing back on this. Margo is not a flop.
She absolutely is.
Is she a hypocrite? Yes, absolutely. Does she have thin skin? Yes. But is she a necessary villain keeping this show alive? 100%.
Being necessary doesn't mean she isn't flopping.
If Margo doesn't drop the bomb about Mark being a bag holder, what are we watching? We're watching people eat cucumber sandwiches in silence. We are watching vines grow into a living room.
That is a fair critique of the alternative.
She delivered the drama on a silver platter. You cannot call the engine of the episode a flop. She is the people's messy princess.
Being a catalyst for chaos does not equate to social success within the group's ecosystem. She isolated herself. She walked away from the confrontation looking flustered and defeated. But we can agree to disagree on her final ranking.
Fine.
However, we also need to discuss who is the ultimate shade queen of the episode. Is it Mark for his relentless posh put-downs, or is it Martha for the deadpan psychotic bitch delivery?
As much as I respect Mark's ability to insult someone with a smile, the shade queen is Martha. To look your weeping friend in the eye and calmly diagnose them as a psychotic bitch while simultaneously affirming your love for them.
It was masterful.
It's a masterclass in boundary setting wrapped in a devastating insult. The duality of I love you and you are psychotic is chef's kiss.
I agree. Martha takes the crown. It was effortless. Which brings us to the ultimate question of the episode. Friend or foe?
Oh, this is juicy.
We need to analyze loyalty in this Bravo universe because everyone is acting incredibly shady. Who is genuinely fake and who is actually loyal?
I am putting Mark firmly in the fake category. He literally admits in his confessional that his compliments are entirely fake.
He's quite open about it.
He greets Margo by saying she looks great, and then cuts to the confessional where he basically says he lies to everyone's face just to maintain decorum. He is the definition of a fake friend. He is a social survivalist.
True, but he is at least transparent with the audience about his duplicity, which is a fascinating sociopathic trait. I am placing Margo in the fake category regarding her friendship with Martha.
Really? You think she's totally fake with Martha?
If you look at the psychological framing, Margo only befriended the down-on-her-luck Martha to secure an alliance and a storyline. The pet psychic incident solidifies this theory. She's treating Martha like a project to be managed, not a peer to be respected.
Wow, okay.
The moment Martha asserts independence, Margo will discard her.
That is so cynical, but I kind of see the mechanics of it. Okay, who is demonstrating actual loyalty? I think Martha is showing true loyalty.
by calling Kimmy psychotic.
Yes. Because true loyalty isn't just blindly agreeing with your bestie and cheering them on when they are wrong. It's calling them out when they're acting horribly. By telling Kimmy her behavior was unacceptable, Martha is being a real grounding friend.
What about Kimmy? Is her loyalty genuine, or is it a hostage situation?
This is where it gets incredibly messy. Because despite Kimmy being an absolute nightmare at that picnic, her tears showed she genuinely cares about Martha's approval. I think she is loyal to Martha, but in a very toxic, smothering, codependent way.
I maintain that Kimmy's loyalty is conditional upon Martha prioritizing her above all others. It is the loyalty of a narcissist who needs a reflection.
God, you are brutal.
Just analytical. But the psychology of this group is just in absolute shambles, which makes for perfect television. We need to look ahead. Who is about to snap? I need your predictions for the fallout.
Based on the current trajectory, Lottie is my prime candidate for a snap. Stillwater's run incredibly deep. She is internalizing all of this marital neglect.
She definitely is.
She's holding it in to maintain appearances. I predict a massive, highly un-British meltdown from Lottie regarding Joshua's absence. I want her to shatter a teacup against a wall. She needs to let it out.
The pressure cooker is certainly whistling. I also predict that the Mark versus Martha dynamic is going to explode.
Oh, for sure.
Margo's going to realize she can't beat Mark at his own linguistic game, and she's going to tactically ease out of the drama, which means Mark, needing a target, is going to turn his crosshairs on Martha.
That makes total sense.
How long can Mark pretend to rise above it when Martha starts checking him the way she checked Kimmy?
Oh, that is a highly probable outcome. Mark and Martha going head-to-head would be incredible. And let's not forget Kimmy.
We could never.
She operates on a strict vendetta system. She will absolutely seek revenge on Margo for the Monopoly Man comment. She's going to plot something convoluted, deeply petty, and highly embarrassing.
Without a doubt.
She is probably scouring LA public records right now trying to find dirt on Margo.
The fallout is going to be spectacular. The structural integrity of this friend group has been permanently compromised.
Babes, this episode gave us absolutely everything. It was a feast. Martini energy, check. Nuggets absolutely demolished, check. There is literally just one cold fry left in the carton, and I am mourning it.
It was a very successful snack session.
Summer vibes activated, check. Ladies of London chaos, fully, completely unpacked.
The ecosystem has been thoroughly analyzed, the shade has been categorized, and the psychological evaluations are complete.
So, to all of you listening in the Snark Squad, are you loving this show as much as we are? Is your group chat spiraling out of control?
We need to know.
Who is your favorite right now? Are you Team Margo and her chaotic American energy, or Team Kimmy and her tiny villain hats?
The sociological implications of your choice are profound, so answer carefully.
And babe, circling back to the most important question of the day, the real faux summer storm we're weathering, are you manifesting nuggets or bougie? Let us know in the chat. Because honestly, the golden arches are always calling.
We require validation for our fast food choices. Please confirm we are not alone.
Please, and while you're at it, remind yourselves to rate, review, and subscribe. It feeds the algorithm, it keeps the lights on, and it keeps our martinis flowing.
It is the currency of the realm.
Ask your most chaotic bestie to listen. Send this to them right now so they can spiral with us. Send us your unhinged submissions, your blind items, and your wild DMs. We want to read them all.
We require the data to fuel our delusions.
But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over while you sip your own martinis this weekend.
Lay it on us.
In a social circle where politeness is used as a weapon and directness is viewed as a character flaw, is it actually possible to have a genuine friend? Or are you just choosing your favorite enemy?
A chilling yet necessary question for survival in London society.
Thank you, Snark Squad, for spiraling with us today. For letting us vent about vines and psychics and Monopoly men.
It has been an absolute chaotic pleasure.
Stay shady, stay iconic, and we'll see you on the Snark side.